I'm Joe with ZucchiniThumbs.com. If we're doing it through this website, if you're seeing this on YouTube, go to ZucchiniThumbs.com right now. You can find a whole lot of other videos that me and Peter have shown you. That's Peter.
I'm back here.
Back there.
We also have Mr. Badir over here. He's my roommate.
And what we're doing today, though, we've decided that we're going to build computers. With the console generation coming, the new one, you know, we're seeing a lot of new hardware, we're seeing a lot of new software, and, you know, it would just be nice, though, that while we have that waiting period in between our current consoles and the next one, to build something where we can play some high-end PC games. And hopefully, these new PCs that we're building should be able to compete with the consoles. Price-wise, it's not going to really compete, but performance, we should be able to get a lot out of it in the long haul.
But yeah, so we're actually building two PCs. Right now we're just going to focus on Joe's, and then we're going to do another video where we're going to build mine. Mine is more of a lower end. Well, okay, it's not really low end, it's more mid-tier, like a mid-range sort of PC. Joe's a little bit higher end than mine.
From an enthusiast perspective, mine is a mid-tier computer because we're not going to be putting in the best parts.
Yeah.
It's only going to come around $1,400, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So for us, we can call it high tier,
Yeah.
but if you really want some gaming power, it's going to be a little bit more than that.
Yeah. So like, yeah, and so his is going to be about $1,400. My build's only going to be about $600. So if you're looking for a budget build,
I did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
You want to watch Peter's build. If you're looking for something a little bit higher end, you found the right video.
All right. What I have here is I have the parts kind of laid out in a mishmash style on this here table. I'll just kind of go over them one by one as we go through this. I'm not going to do it all at the beginning because there's a lot to keep track of. And I need to be focused.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm just going to kind of let you know what I've already done to this here case. This is the NZXT Tempest 210. It's a little bit lower model for NZXT. It has another one, I think it's 410, that's a little bit better. But I went with this because it's relatively cheap, it was on sale. And the standard is you shouldn't be cheaping out on a case. And I'm not cheaping out, there's a lot of features in here. But for the most part, if you're going to be putting $1,000 into a case, you want to have a good case. And this one, it's the bare minimum. So this is probably as little as I would go. But what it features is toolless drive installations. We just got kind of clippy things here that you can just kind of require some force. Also, be sure to read the directions on how to know how to, there we go. Don't force it. This is a theme you're gonna be seeing here. If you feel like you're applying too much pressure, you probably are. So take a minute and look around, make sure that there isn't some kind of lever you gotta pull. So this kind of pulls in and out, and you know, it lines up nicely with the hard drive. So in here I have an Asus DVD drive. It's writer and reader for both CDs and DVDs. No Blu-ray here, but you can get these usually on the cheap for about $20. So
and you can find a Blu-ray drive for like 50,
right,
around 50-ish.
Yeah, so it won't really break your bank. With regards to all the other parts in here, these are probably the cheapest. So that's why like a lot of people like to go driveless. My personal philosophy, I have a lot of legacy equipment, games, software that I like to put on my computer. So I have one, but if you decide to go driveless, just be aware that you're not going to be saving too much money. But then again, it might be a smart idea. If you want to just save $20, spend it on a cheap game on Steam or something like that. So it's not necessarily a bad idea.
Or if you want to save on power, you know, you want to reduce
power. Yeah, I mean.
Or you want to build a really small PC. But right here, we are not building a very small PC.
This is not a very small PC. This is a mid-tower. Yeah. It's usually the largest that you're going to get out of most home PCs. So I'm going to put this back in here. These are always a pain to put back in. You kind of have to align it right. I got it right the first time. Again, don't force it. You don't have to. I'm going to line this up and put this in the outtakes if it doesn't click. So, okay, now we got that back in. It wasn't aligned properly. You had to hold it down. Look for holes. Yeah, like make sure it's lining up. It looked like it was lining up, but I kind of had to manipulate this up a little bit so I can fit it in. So if you see indents, which you shouldn't see, but if you do see indents, that probably means you're not lining up right, and adjust accordingly. It's a drive. It's $20, so I'm not too concerned. Don't do it with anything else, ever.
Don't do it with an SSD. You will regret your decision.
You will. Okay, so down here, this is 5 1/4 inch form factor. That's usually reserved for drives. Well, for like DVD disk drives, hardware drives, or software drives. Down here, this is our 3.5 form factor, and that's usually for internal drives. There's also some other things that you can put in there. I'm not sure what they are, or I haven't looked too much into it, so don't worry too much about it. All you know is this is where you're going to put your internal hard drive. And the thing about this case is it only supports 3.5 without tools, because these things are made to clip in, and then you align it with the holes in your internal hard drive. You push it in, you make it, and then you lock it. Now the problem is this doesn't work for 2.5 form factor. So what's the difference between 3.5 and 2.5 for the layman's out there? 2.5 is smaller, obviously, but the general difference is disk-based hard drives, as you know them, the ones that go those are 3.5. SSDs, which run a lot faster, a lot smaller, and a lot cheaper, are usually 2.5. And so for this build, if you're like more into high end, if you want to put an SSD in your build, it might not be the best idea. But a lot of more pricey, like $75 cases will probably have something that'll accommodate that, usually a mount. In this case, because it was toolless, there was no mount, so I had to buy an adapter, and these are cheap. I got it like for $2 for $10, actually $2 for $5 maybe. And what you just do is it accommodates a 2.5, and you just put it on here, and there are little screws on the bottom. So you just screw it in, and it'll have holes in this this SSD. This SSD is the Samsung 840 Pro series. It's 256 gigabytes, so it's going to be enough to hold an operating system, maybe 2 operating systems, and on a few games. If you want to have like a proper gaming rig, you either should get a larger SSD or get an SSD and a hard drive. And you typically put the operating system and a few programs you use frequently on the SSD, and everything else just goes into the hard drive for storage, because it's slower. This is super fast. So. And
let's be clear, when you say cheaper, you mean that it uses less power, so it'll be cheaper in the long run if you're paying a power bill. But hard drives are significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
But they are significantly slower as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also they have, from what I can tell, they fail a little bit. Well, I mean, SSDs, we haven't gotten to that point where they've started failing.
Exactly. And with SSDs, if they fail, it's really easy to copy your stuff over, because usually it's the write that fails. While hard drives, if it fails, you're done.
Yeah.
Your stuff's gone.
You can always recover data from a hard drive.
It's so expensive, exactly.
Don't worry about it. You might as well consider it a loss. So always back up your data, even with SSDs.
Even with SSDs.
I live my life on the edge. I live in the cloud for the most part, honestly. I choose not. I wish I didn't, but I do. So. I don't have to worry about it.
It's his job. He has to live in the cloud.
I have no pictures. So in addition to that, one thing I like about this case is it has a back panel. We've removed it for the purpose of the video. We'll probably put that back in at the end. What's great about this is you can run cables from the power supply that'll be mounted down here somewhere, run them through here and run them up, and then out into your motherboard and distribute them accordingly. So that's always a nice feature to have, especially if you are putting in a CPU cooler, your own. A lot of CPUs come with coolers, and they're usually pretty simple to put on. I decided to go with something a little bit heftier because I'm going to overclock. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But because of that, you need a bracket on the back of the motherboard, and that's why this hole is there. You're going to put the motherboard on this over here, and then you're going to put your bracket there, and then fiddle with the fan on the other side. So, and then one last thing. This case came with 2 fans. I removed one and put in 2 more of my own. Usually fans are based around the motherboard. Most typical motherboard has like 2 ports for fans. Mine has 3, and then higher end will have more because the motherboard regulates how fast the fans go. So because my motherboard has 3, I put 3 in. I put one in the front as an intake, takes it in, and then I put one up here. It's an out. It should be an outtake. It might need to be oriented differently. And that one came with the case. There was another one, I removed it because I'm not going to use it. If you have more fans than your motherboard can take, you can always plug it into the power supply, but then it will run on full blast all the time, and it's not so much an energy waste because it doesn't use a lot of energy, but it's just annoying, especially when you're running a lot less.
Gets real loud.
It gets real loud. It's too loud for the amount you're getting out of it. It's just not worth it. So, and I got these fans not necessarily because they're better than the stock fans, because they have LEDs. Because this is boring. Because
he wants it to look pretty.
I want it to look pretty, and I didn't really care too much about the loudness because I'm probably gonna. I'm not gonna worry about it. I hail from the philosophy of if it's loud, it means it's working. So do as you will. There's also water cooling. We're not going to get into that because that's complex. It's expensive.
Expensive, yeah.
And the payoff for the everyman isn't that great. I mean, if you're an enthusiast, it's fine. But if you're like me and I don't pay too much attention to my fans, it's not too much to worry about. So, onward. That is our case. We're now going to start building a computer.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Ready for this?
No. With the motherboard. Now, it should be understood that you want to be grounded. It also helps not to stay on wool carpet, because if you discharge onto it, it can ruin some of the components.
But honestly, I built a PC before on top of a carpet, and I was fine. So
yeah.
It's really edge cases that this you'd have to really do something really bad to screw this up.
Yeah. So, but it always helps to be cautious, especially out here where it's dry. If you're in somewhere humid, I guess it's not as big of a deal, but I wouldn't know. So we don't live in somewhere humid. So what I did was, what is this one? This is the ASUS P8Z77V LK something letters.
Something.
All you need to know is this supports the, what is this, the Ivy Bridge socket type, Ivy Bridge, Sandy Bridge.
So no Haswell here.
No Haswell. If you have a Haswell processor, for whatever reason, you can't use this motherboard because of the socket type. What makes it great, I mean, it's ASUS. They're usually pretty reliable in their motherboards. We have, what is it? And, is that 4 PCI? Oh, I need to go closer. Yeah, okay, yeah. No. Yes? No. Well, this said it had 4. Either way, cut that out. I'm not dumb. It is 3. Whatever. It has some PCI ports, like most cases. There really isn't too much special about this. Some motherboards have kind of overclocking built into them. Just kind of nice little touches, little things that you might be able to utilize, but for the most part, it's pretty basic. It's just the quality that's nice. It can hold up to, I think this one can do 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, I think it's 32, so you can have 8 in each slot.
And that's pretty typical.
That's pretty typical. Yeah, so there's really nothing special about this for the most part.
But motherboard, it's important, especially if you plan on upgrading at some point. You're going to want to get a good motherboard.
Right. So, and typically the guideline for motherboards is $100.
Yep.
Not at least. You could probably get away with an $80 motherboard. It's not like you're really risking too much, but once you go below 100, you start losing ports, you start losing quality. So it's just nice. It's a nice ballpark to be in. So first, what we're gonna have to do with this, first and foremost, is we're gonna have to put a CPU in it. So,
and that's the scary part.
That's the scary part, because CPUs are hella expensive. I got my CPU right here. This is the i7, was it 3770K?
Yep.
So you don't need to worry. The i7 just means it has 4 cores, and then it has 4 virtual cores, which allows it to do hyper-threading. It's great for video editing, photo editing, music editing,
pretty much
word processing, editing.
Pretty much for compute tasks.
For compute tasks, yeah. So it's not really necessary for your gaming build. You can usually go with an i5 3570K. That's because all the same cores. Games don't utilize virtual cores, I think. I think it's virtual cores.
Yeah, games.
They're getting there. They're getting to physical cores. They're starting to utilize those more, but virtual cores, I don't know if that's actually a thing.
Not yet.
Not yet, but in the future. Probably not. Probably not that either. So, what else? The K at the end means it can be overclocked. That means you can up certain fixed variables on your CPU, and what that lets you do is get more performance for free. Issue is you can often void your warranty doing it, and it's not dangerous anymore. There are ways, like if you have an internet connection and if you're smart and safe and are reasonable, you just go online, you can usually find someone who say, hey, I got this out of it, and then you can try to replicate that or at least go below and then try to bump up. And there are certain tests that you can run that'll make sure it's stable and that everything's not crashing down. So it's not terribly dangerous, and also there's fail-safes. There's fail-safes on the motherboard, on power supply. There's all kinds of fail-safes in this computer that should stop it from doing something that it shouldn't. So that's why it's also important to get a good motherboard and stuff like that, because the better, they usually have those fail-safes in there. So if not, if it's cheap, then it might not. And you might fry your motherboard, or you might fry something, or you might melt something. Something is going to go wrong. So first off, we're gonna put it on first, and then we're gonna ignore it for a minute, but, well, once we put the CPU in. There's a latch here. I think it's, Peter might need to help me. Oh, see, I've not done this before.
Okay.
I've only worked with AMD processor sockets here,
Badir. Grab this.
Badir is gonna
Steady
help.
hands.
Steady hands.
Okay, so how this works is you're gonna push it down, pull it out, pop it open. So you gotta remove this.
Is that the plastic thing? Yeah,
Yep.
This is
Keep
a little,
it.
it's a little plastic shield for make sure you don't get like gunk in there. But yeah.
And you want to keep this just because if you ever needed
Take your processor out.
Take it out, or if you're going to transport it, or if you're going to return it. This is necessary.
Exactly.
All right. Oh God. Oh no. Oh. Okay. I should note. Fortunately for this processor, I got it for about $230, which is a steal for an i7. I got it at Micro Center. You can probably find one in your area. And what you want to do is you want to line it up. Now, I forget how I want to line it up. I got the triangle right here. Where's the triangle usually go? Peter.
Let me see.
I got the triangle right there. Is it like that? Is that how I want to put it in? Or do I want to?
Yes, because it's keyed in. So there's these little notches right here. Then you got your notches there. So it should slide in like that.
Okay, and
So you gotta want to go as vertical as possible.
yes.
And we're good.
Oh my God. All right, so let's explain what happened there, because at home it's like, you just put a freaking thing in a thing. Like, that's no big deal. What we did there is there are little notches on the side, and it's going to be really hard to see, especially depending on the quality that we have these in. But these notches will line up with the CPU and the compartment that it's in. And what you want to do is you want to kind of grab it just on the side and gently place it, because this CPU, this is pretty heavy. It has some weight on it.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to line it up and just kind of plop. But you don't want to drop it, and you don't want to like wiggle it into place. You want to set it gently.
Because if you wiggle it into place, you could bend the pins, and that is bad.
That's bad because you hurt your motherboard, and motherboards are expensive to replace. I mean, it's not the most expensive thing to replace, but it's still pretty bad. So then what we want to do is, okay, so I want to, this is also another one of those scary parts. We want to push this down.
Make sure it's nice and tight.
And then hook it.
Exactly.
I'm going to assume that's okay.
Should be okay.
Does it look all right? Yeah, look. Is it okay? Yeah.
We made it.
Oh,
Made it past the scary part.
Oh, okay. And word to the wise, or not word to the wise, but just general disclaimer. Sometimes you will hear crunching noises. It's okay. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. If you have it aligned in place, it should be fine. There should be nothing wrong. But sometimes, depending on your motherboard, your CPU, sometimes you will hear crunching noise. People always freak out because you might have broken something. But if you did all that right, if it's lined up and you apply gentle force, just enough, it it should be okay. You should never have to force anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put RAM sticks in, because these are the parts you usually do need to put some force on, right? Yeah, Peter.
As long as you line them up right. But they're easy to put in.
They're pretty easy, yeah. They're super straight.
As long as you line the notches up right.
Right.
If it doesn't go in, don't try to
Don't force it.
Don't force it, but it's gonna take a little bit of force to put it in. But don't you should be able to tell. There are notches in certain places that you just gotta line up.
Now, what this is a Corsair Vengeance. This is a 4 gig stick of RAM, and they usually come in pairs. It always helps to run RAM in pairs. Efficiency thing, you could probably tell people more about that than I do.
Now, Joe, if I have some old RAM and I want to put in my new machine, should I mix and match my RAM? No. Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Don't do that. I don't know what exactly will happen, but it's just a no-no, and just don't.
Basically, the way it works is that motherboards will default to the slowest RAM that you have. So if you put in old RAM with new RAM, you are not going to be gaining any speed at all. So you're basically limiting yourself if you put slower RAM in with faster RAM. Just buy some new RAM. It's cheap. It's the cheapest part of the computer.
Right. Well, except for the DVD drive.
Except for the DVD drive.
And the fans. And the cooler.
The cheapest technical part of the computer.
Yeah. So the thing about this is I think I have to push this down at first. The notches, make sure the notches line up. Notch right there, notch down there, so that should be fine. You're gonna have to push it until it pops into place.
Exactly.
And yeah, so some nicer motherboards will have these little clamps on here, so you'll know when it's locked in.
Now with an Asus brand, which slots are you supposed to put in first? The black slots or the blue slots? I'm assuming it's the black slots from what you're doing.
There's an order. So what you want to do is you want to put these in the blue slots. Now, according to the manual, it doesn't truly matter, at least if that's what I'm to take what recommended means.
Yeah.
It said recommended setup. Yeah, if you have one stick of RAM, which if you do, you're crazy, because they come in pairs.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you don't take advantage of having two sticks because you can access them twice as frequently.
2 sticks is better than 1. I guess that's something that needs to be said. If you want to put 8 gigs in your system, don't use 1 stick of 8 gig RAM, unless you intend at some point in the future to buy another one to pair it up with. I mean, you could do that, but it's not cost effective, it's not performance effective. So it's usually better to pair. So again, you want to line up the notches, and in this particular case, you want to put them in the blue, according to this motherboard. Consult your manual, your mileage will vary.
Yeah, it really depends on the brand, because I know here for Asus it's blue, but I think for other brands, you might want to put it in a different colored socket. Yeah. It really depends, because yeah, it really depends. And sometimes they change them up on you depending on the model. So it's really, you gotta make sure you know what you're doing.
Make sure. And you're not gonna break something. I think it should be understood that, at least in this particular case, you don't want to worry about it, because it's all the same slot. But the only time you should ever really be careful about just plugging stuff in is with your power supply. Don't do that. Don't just plug stuff into your power supply. Make sure it's going to the right spot. So you gotta apply a little force till these nice little things click. Don't worry, you're not gonna break your motherboard, and if you're afraid you are, make sure it's on a flat surface so it's not gonna warp. We're not gonna bend too much.
Yeah.
Just push, and you hear the nice click, and done. Done, it's in. From here, we're going to put this to the side, because now what I wanna do is I'm going to put in the power supply. This is gonna power the whole thing. Sometimes you can put you can put the motherboard in first if you want, it doesn't matter. With this, it's a little bit big and I might cut it a little close, so I'd rather put this in first because this is gonna be a bigger hassle to take out than the motherboard. What I have here is a HX650 Corsair. This is an enthusiast power supply that really doesn't mean too much other than I think it's gold rated. There are various ratings for power supplies. Usually the better the metal, the better sounding the metal, the better it is. You have bronze. I think there's silver, gold, platinum. Power supplies are one of those things where you neither want to cheap out, and you also want to be careful about the brand. They're probably the most volatile piece of equipment you can put into your computer. Like most other motherboards, no matter what the brand, typically it's okay. RAM, same deal. It's all usually okay, but with power supplies, your mileage will vary, and some can
just die on you.
Just die.
Or sometimes they will report, oh, it supports up to this much wattage, and it's not really that much.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is
Misleading.
if this thing goes, your whole build could go. And if it catches fire, if it short circuits. So you always want to get a good one, because then it's usually pretty much idiot proof. There's some, like Diablo Tech is not usually a good one, because if you put something in the wrong slot, it can short circuit. It doesn't have fail safes for that. Well, Corsair usually does. So Corsair, I think Cooler Master is all right. I'm not sure about Antec, maybe.
I don't know.
It usually helps.
Look at the reviews.
Yeah, there's a website called tomshardware.com. They usually have a list that you can consult. If not, then go to reddit.com/r/buildapc, and on the sidebar they'll have a link that you can consult for getting the best PSU power supply unit. And it also helps to give yourself about 100 watt leeway with your equipment. So if you've estimated online, there are calculators, if you estimate 450 watts, helps to get a power supply of about 550 watts.
Exactly.
Assuming you're not going to upgrade. If you're going to upgrade, you want to give yourself a little bit more headroom than 100 watts, just in case. Like if you're putting on an additional graphics card,
Yeah.
you know, that's going to eat up a lot of power.
Exactly.
So for this, how we're going to mount this, you can mount PSUs or power supply units in two ways. Either like this or like this. I'm going to assume, and I think this is the case for most power supply units, the fan intakes. It sucks in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it upright, because if I mount it down here like that and I'm on a rug, which I might be, because given where I'm going to be living next year and where I'm living now, I might be, I don't want to get any fabric in there or get any, dust.
Yep.
Because this is hard to clean. I don't even think I can clean this. Unless I have like a giant air blower.
Yeah, the only way you'd really clean it is just stick that vacuum hose in there.
Right.
And hope for the best.
Yeah. And what's great about this power supply unit is it's modular, which means you can take out power cords. Cheaper ones are not, which it's not too big of a deal, but it's nice to have if you are concerned about your cable management. So what I want to do is make sure it's all out of the way. It's not on top of any wires. Nope, all the wires are over there. And yes, okay. Yeah, okay, so I found I'm going to be screwing this in. It's part of the power supply, and that's part of the power supply. Yep, okay. I get my screws over here. Power supply should come with some screws. Should. Where did you put them, Peter?
I didn't touch them.
Are you sure these are screws? Oh yeah, here they are.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, because my screws are right here. I made sure I didn't get them mixed in with your stuff.
These are some cheap little screws. Oh, I got a sticker too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that.
Yeah, I'm not putting any stickers on mine.
One thing you'll notice is a lot of the stuff that you'll get will come with stickers and stuff. Kind of put their branding on your case. And I would do that. I would be okay doing that, except for it's very inconsistent. And some of them have stickers that I don't care for. Like my graphics sticker, it doesn't specify what kind of graphics card I have, so why would I put that on there?
And it also comes with a poster.
And it comes with a poster. Game of phones. Ugh. Yeah. All you really need for assembling a computer is a nice screwdriver. If you need anything more than that, it'll probably let you know. Yeah, this has this screwdriver kind of is magnetized.
Should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine, at least for this. Some people swear that, you know, if you're going to use a magnetized screwdriver, you might hurt your motherboard, you might hurt whatever you're putting screws on. And as long as you're careful, I don't exactly see it being too much of a big deal. But yeah, you want to keep it treat it like a car tire, in which you go around and around and around until they're all tightened. You don't want to tighten one right off the spot. This is not so much of a big deal because this thing's pretty sturdy. But if you're doing something like with a motherboard and you're screwing stuff in, you're gonna have a lot of screws, so don't do it all at once. Please, just don't. It's generally a bad idea. So I got in a cooler for my CPU. Not gonna worry about that right away because that's gonna be unwieldy.
Yeah, that's gonna take like a half an hour on its own, I have a feeling.
I don't think it'll take that long. No, I think I figured it mostly out.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just gonna be a lot of like, oh, we gotta flip it now. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna put the motherboard in. This is gonna be pretty gnarly because we got these cables in here, so this is just gonna be a bit of a mess, but we can do it, I think. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna line it up. Now, the orientation when putting in the motherboard is these slots. You got the PCIe, or at least these 3 long guys right here. And they are going to want to line up with, they're closed off at the moment, but I can remove these and you can plug like stuff like your graphics card or whatever, and it'll have the output that'll go out here, and it'll also fit into this. So it's gonna be long ways up. But first, what I want to do real quick is we want to put the guard in.
Yes, this is the easiest part to forget, and then you'll have to take it out and redo it if you forget it.
I'm glad I remembered. Yeah, it's not too bad, but depending on the kind you get, this can be very easy or kind of tedious. Let's hope this is a little bit easier. Yeah, so some are just kind of like nicely fitted, so you can just kind of push them in. Others, like this one, are just kind of cheap, plasticky, well, metally.
Cheap metally.
Cheap metally. So, what is it? It goes on the inside. And I want to make sure. Yep. I think that was a good pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to force these, but again, it all comes down to how the quality of the parts you're using.
Did you put the spacers in yet?
Ah, shoot, do I? How does that work? How do spacers work?
Okay.
Oh, these are the spacers for this, aren't they? Yeah, these are the spacers. No. See, yeah, this is the issue when you're working with all these interconnected parts is you gotta know where's what. Like, you know, the screws for the motherboard of all things. Oh, well, is that coming with the motherboard or is it coming with the case? Well, oh, it's coming with the case. Well, why? Well, it just is. When in doubt, consult the directions. Okay, I see an E and an F. The F appears to be the separators, the E appears to be the screws.
There we go.
The E's are, well, we have 32 E's.
Yeah.
9 F's. Oh, perfect. Okay, so it doesn't say where these come from, but it shows what they look like. So they're black, I think. Are they? Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Yes.
Yeah.
These are the F's. These are the F's, and I'm gonna guess that these aren't the E's, are they? Yeah, I'm gonna assume that these are these. All right. E's, F's. So the F's are gonna go down. Put these on here. Now, with every case, there should be sort of a guide where to put your motherboard. I'm doing a mid-tower, just standard size. So it should take 9 screws, 1 in the middle, and 3 on a grid basically. So and they label them for you. This even has a nice guide to it. I like this.
Yeah.
You probably can't see this too well, but it has a list for mini, micro, mini ITX. What I'm just going to go with ATX, and that's A9. So I'm going to follow all the holes that say A9 or A1 through 9 on them. So where's what? This is an A1. I'm probably, I can't, I have to do this by hand. Because, yep, great. Yeah, what these are doing is these are separators. They separate the motherboard from the metal case, or the cheap metal case, depending on what kind of case you get. Keep anything from everything. Make sure they're nice and tight. So this is both a benefit and a con for putting stuff in your case before the motherboard. It looks unwieldy from here, having this fan and garbage in my way, but I guarantee you that this stuff would be 10 times harder to install second to the motherboard.
Definitely.
So
once the motherboard's in there, it's a lot tougher.
Right. So, you know, you gotta take the bitter with the sweet. It's a pain now trying to navigate my gargantuan giant hands, but.
And if you don't want to deal with this, then
get a midget.
Then PC building,
a little person.
PC construction is not for you.
Yeah. Building your own PC can be fun because it's essentially a glorified Lego set, only for adults. And about the same price.
It's actually kind of true. I spent about the same amount on that Lego set as I am on my PC.
In fact, you spent more, haven't you?
No. The Lego set was $400. The PC is $550.
Oh boy. So it's fun. It's rewarding. It's great to do, but obviously it can be tedious. And a lot can go wrong. So, you know, treat it both. If you get good enough, this is just like, yeah, I'm building a PC. But if you're like me, who's never built a PC before, it's like, oh no, this is a PC. It's scary. No one likes to spend $200 and then just essentially throw it down the drain. If something should break.
That's what warranties are for.
That's what warranties are for. And I'm not sure. I couldn't give too much good advice as far as whether you should take... It's tough to know when manufacturer warranty takes effect versus like, you know, like if you buy something at Micro Center, they might sell you their kind of warranty or when in doubt, make sure you're getting the manufacturer's warranty because that means they'll replace it anywhere, anytime, anyway. Versus something like Micro Center where it's like, oh yeah, I got a warranty through Micro Center, and it's like, well, you have to go through Micro Center and get that fixed if something goes wrong. So keep it simple, stupid. Don't complicate it. All right, so now those are the separators. So now we have to put this on, and then we'll put the screws on top. But very gentle. Yeah, it looks like scary to touch something like this because it's like, oh no, it's all these little pieces, but you're not gonna hurt it too bad. Like it's not like there's any sort of oil in your fingers that are gonna hurt it.
Yeah, my last motherboard was Asus, and it was pretty much the same setup as this, except ever since I got my last motherboard, they've changed from mine was gold, everything was just gold, and now they're like, oh, now we're gonna do blue. Like, okay.
Future blue.
We like blue better now.
Ever since the economy went to hell, gold
went off the gold standard.
Nixon.
That gold paint, man.
Oh man, it's too much.
Okay, so we got that all sorted out. We did have a wound, a flesh wound.
It's just a little cut because, oh god, I hate those guards. They're so bad. They're meant to keep dust off of the motherboard. I hope these are the right screws. There's 32 of these. Mistakes.
So I just gotta put the screws in.
It's okay, these things are durable. Just don't do that. Don't be like Joe.
Don't be like...
I just cut myself. Those guards are meant to keep dust out, and it's kind of stupid because there's holes in this entire thing. Alright, so right now what we're doing is Be careful! This is most certainly like a car tire plate. You want to put a little bit on each one. You don't want to go full force because you're going to stress the motherboard too much. And we're also learning things about ourselves today. For instance, this is apparently not the same size motherboard that I thought it was. Exactly.
But you know, smaller is better.
Smaller is better, yeah. What we ended up doing is we put in 9 screws. Or 9 separators, and it turns out this only has 3 holes that we can count.
6 holes.
We can only count the 3 though.
3 left.
So we can only
we can only count the 3.
Actually, there might be an issue. I get screwed up.
No,
Yeah.
you're doing fine, Joe. You're doing
No,
good.
no, this isn't a stress thing. It's just a matter of I'm making sure, because now I'm going to have to pull this up if it's not all in the right spot. Yep, it's harder. All right. Yeah, so know how many holes, and know where they're going.
Know what to put in the
Know
holes.
what to put in the holes. Know what screws. There's a lot of little parts. You want to make sure you do it all right the first time, just because, like you saw earlier, it's a pain in the butt to make it all line up. So now I put them all in loosely. Now I'm just going to go around and tighten them a little bit by little. There's no use. I mean, you want to make it tight enough that it's going to stay.
But not too tight.
Not too tight. You don't want it
It's not like it's going to fly out of there or anything.
Yeah, no, unless
Should
you
be okay.
are like me and you. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, this is all just preliminary because your motherboard is going to be one of those things where you're not going to have to replace it for a long time. At worst case, you're going to replace the CPU before the motherboard. Well, that might not necessarily be true. You might be replacing CPUs and motherboards
At
in
the same
pairs.
time.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to get a Haswell chip, which uses a different socket.
Right. So it's not a huge issue, but just make sure it's going to be in there. It's going to be part of your case for a while. If you do minor upgrades along the way. All right. Now that we did that, I think the moment has come where we need to put in the CPU cooler. Now, with my build, every i7, every Intel processor comes with its own heatsink and fan, but because I'm going to overclock, I got something a little heftier. I got the Evo 212 Cooler Master. And it's a big old heatsink, and it has a lot of moving parts. So this is probably going to be the last tedious thing we have to do to this, outside of cable management. But that's a cakewalk. That won't be too bad. So, now this is what makes this build so great: is we have this back, so I can see the back of the motherboard. Because when you're installing these coolers, they are big. They're really big. And so they need some extra support, so you got to put a bracket or something underneath it. So I had the directions somewhere here.
And let's be clear, if you don't want to deal with this, if you're not going to be overclocking, the stock cooler works fine.
It works fine. This is only for overclocking, and honestly, there are probably some better coolers. This is a great one for the buck, and it does the job really well. But there are probably some that have easier installations. All right, so first we want to take this bracket and we want to make it so that it kind of pushes out. And then what we want are C-screws. These are standoff by 4, so it should be metal, the longer and thinner ones. My spatial skills have just gone out the window since school. Stay in school. If you want to remember how the hell 3D works. Because it's just become difficult. Because it doesn't display anything to proportion, or it might be to proportion. I'm just really dumb. But
Spending too much time staring at a computer screen.
oh, all these computers. Yeah, so we want to screw these on the front first. These are going to kind of be separators for the cooler on top. Right here, they're gonna hang off a bit, so we're gonna need to correct that. At some point, it will be corrected, but just hanging there to keep them there. Might be best to do this one at a time, but I'm going whole hog, so screw it. Line this up in the center. Based off of your CPU type, you're gonna want to put this thing in here differently. These kind of have 3 notches. You want to go with the center one because it's a L1155.
1155.
1155 is a better way of saying that.
And the new socket for Haswell is 1150. Okay.
What was that?
It was just the nut.
Oh, good.
Just like,
But down here.
Yeah, this was probably a mistake. Here, I'm going to do this one at a time. Don't do whole hog. It's generally a bad idea. Okay, good. So this one decided it's going to stick. So we're going to take this out. So we're going to need a nut. What is it, a G? No, we're going to need an E. No, E is the bracket. We're going to need a G.
Okay.
We need a G and an H. So we got the H. Put this in here. Yeah, this is the tedious part. Yeah, screw it on a little bit. We're gonna put another one in. It's not good, that's kind of gingerly dangling. Ooh, that's right. Another one on.
Oh shit.
Shoot. Okay, yeah, that's much better. See, look, it's on so much better now.
Yeah, we got all those screws in eventually.
Eventually, that was probably the worst part of the whole thing. But now it's all downhill. So we wanted to kind of be clamping towards these heatsink pipes. I guess these are pipes. Yep, that's the correct way. We want to have it so that it goes to the center and locks on this sort of mechanism. We want to make sure we're aligning it properly. Yeah, it appears. This is how. I have to double check and make sure. See how, in what form this actually goes on here. This is the spider kind of bracket thing that we're going to be placing on. And what we want is we want to have these kind of screws in the middle lock. Come on, move. I think, yeah. You should be able to move. There we go. Yeah, these kind of pop into place, and you have to move them to the right alignment for your form factor. In this case, we want the center bracket. These bottom ones are fine. These top ones are giving me some trouble. Yeah, hurt myself again.
Gonna have some battle scars after this. That's when you know you've really built a PC.
Skin flakes everywhere.
Pre-dust.
Pre-dust.
Pre-dust it.
This is like, whoever recommends this is, I hate these people.
So we're putting some thermal paste on the cooler.
Come on. All right. Got the thermal paste on. My Dave & Buster's card.
Dave & Buster's.
It has been expired for I don't know how long. Is that's probably too little, isn't it?
No.
No,
Trust me.
it's
You
enough?
want as little,
All right, Sean's shaking his head no. He knows what's
little
up.
as possible. As little.
The issue though is this: there's possible spillover.
I think
feel.
if it's spread on right, it won't spill.
Yeah, you don't have to spread it all the way around.
Yeah.
Like, that should be good enough, and then you should just fill the rest
Just fill.
through pressure.
So this might be a two-person job. If someone would like to guide me on my right-hand side, make sure those screws are going where they need to.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
Still a little bit for it.
Move to my left or my right.
Let's see.
Use your words.
To your left. There's you gotta move.
Well, here, this might look. Okay, are they aligned?
They're about to be.
All right.
A little bit. This one. Yeah, they're
Here.
There you go. Start screwing.
Start screwing.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
What it's gonna do
Okay, there you
is there's like a center divot on this
That
floor.
one's started going in.
This one going in?
Yeah, it's going in.
I want to start the other ones too.
Yeah.
Wheel. Like changing a tire, man. Like changing a tire.
Yeah, there's a central divot on the CPU cooler that it's mechanically fastened, at least to this bracket.
Close.
Oh, dude, these things are a pain in the ass to clean. I'm just gonna tell you right now, because I had. I might have waited too long to clean it because it was just clumped up on the inside. So then I just dumped it and got a new one. I was like, this is too much work.
This depends on how much dust you have.
Yeah, I waited like 2 years, opened it up, I was like, oh shit. There's like a cat in here.
Yeah. Do you have pets?
I do. I have a cat. I have 2 cats.
And Tucker,
And I have a dog now. Too.
favorite guy ever. Warranty void if removed, but it's so ugly.
That's unfortunate.
You're never gonna see it. Just close the computer.
Son of a bitch, it's in the way of the RAM. Can I just...
Can you slide it down?
Is this gonna work? No, probably not. No?
Yeah, you can slide it in.
No, there's too many parts.
Take out the RAM. put it
Yeah.
in first.
It's been our experience so far of, shit, we
Wrong order.
screwed something up. Well, it's hard to gauge order, I feel.
Yeah.
I thought I had
It really depends on what parts you have.
Well, yeah, I thought I would have a lot of room to work with, and I kind of do over here, but that's not helping me. Now I'm gonna freak out if this is even a line. Like,
It looks fine.
It's fine, Joe.
it's fine, stop worrying.
It'll never be perfect. That's what you have to.
Why am I even wasting my
That's
time?
why you have to. What you have to understand about building a PC. It will never be perfect.
Oh yeah, no, I subscribe to tech support gore. I know how bad it
It's
is.
perfect when it's
But then that means, shit, I won't be able to upgrade RAM. Not with this fan on.
Well, no, you can't replace the fan.
Get a good shot of this, Peter.
Put that RAM back in there.
Put it back in.
Cool.
Oh, okay. You want, oh, there's a chassis fan down here. That's chassis fan 2. Where is, oh, 1 is right up here. So, because this one looks like it has the most to reach. Is it gonna even make it? It's gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. Son of a whore. Yeah, that's gonna work. That works. Perfect.
Got the fans in. Got them fans in. So what's our next step, Joe?
Wires.
Wire.
No! GPU.
GPU.
So what I have here is the GTX 770. This is pretty much the best NVIDIA card for your buck right now, in terms of performance versus price. There are multiple models by multiple manufacturers. Usually a good one is the one I have here, EVGA. Some other good ones are ASUS. And I think Gigabyte usually does a good job. Well, there isn't much difference other than the clock speed that they're set at. A lot of that you can manipulate yourself if you wish to overclock. You don't have to overclock graphics cards. Usually NVIDIA doesn't allow a lot of headway. So, I might overclock this. It's doable. But, yeah, a good alternative to NVIDIA is AMD. They offer usually better price per performance, and they also usually have a lot better overclocking capabilities. They also have a deal right now where you get free games. This might change by the time this is posted, but a lot of graphics cards do often allow. They do have promotions where you get a free game if you buy their card. Not in this case. You can also buy these from the manufacturers, NVIDIA and AMD themselves, I believe, and that might be where the deals are at. I just bought this. So we're gonna try to put this in. Yeah, I mean, like anything, you want to line the notches. The notches go like that.
Other way.
Oh yeah,
Flip it.
you're right. Yeah, so it's gonna go upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's
Yep.
gonna go upside down. Look at the text.
Upside down.
It's really weird because you see these out of the box, but you don't touch them.
Don't.
You don't touch them often outside of the box. So, okay, I might have to lower this. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do. Trust the screwdriver.
Slots did not align.
Slots not align.
Yeah, these newer graphics cards are a lot thicker. They take 2 slots now, seems like most of them do. My last PC build, many years ago, I got a 9600. It only took 1 slot. So, times would be changing, I guess.
Right there. Press. Now we can line this up just nicely. These are going out. Perfect. Alright, and there should be a flip up here, is there not? Do I have to push this in, Peter?
Yeah, basically it's like sometimes it can be a real hassle. You gotta like snap it in.
There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Now
Scared me.
screw it
Now I
in.
need to
and-
screw it in. those screws back. There we go. Nice. There was a hole right here. It wasn't running quite right. One more screw. Well, no, wait. We don't need to worry about that up there, do we? Looks like it's in.
Yeah, it's in.
It's in. Yeah, it's really weird how like these just kind of hang. They're so big.
They are very large.
I feel halfway tempted to just put this thing on its side.
You can do that.
I mean, you can. It's your computer. But
And then you could put the fan the opposite way because then it would.
yeah, no, there's all kinds of ways you could do this. Oh my god.
It turned on! And it has green LEDs on the fan.
And the power supply.
That's quiet. That's nice.
That is nice. That is quiet. Yes!
We have boot screen.
Wait, is that mine? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you're good. You're all set.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I'm sorry.
Oh, God.